Alright, YouTube, it is the Bat Nerd, and I am back. This time giving you a ranking on the Spider Man movies. So, this will be a ranking on the live action movies. So, I won't be considering the, Into the Spider Verse, Across the Spider Verse movies. Um, but I will be doing all the other live action Spider Man movies. So, let's begin, shall we? So, coming in there are 9 movies here. Coming in at number 9, it is The Amazing Spider Man 2. Now, this has some great visuals, great, web slinging visuals and some good action, but I feel that we were a bit led on. Also, this movie had a lot of studio interference, cutting scenes and stuff. The ending, when Peter loses Gwen, is heartbreaking, and we get some good moments with Electro. Green Goblin, I feel, was just put in there and stuff, and Rhino, we didn't see him until the end, and even then, he didn't look good. He looked nothing like. He just looked like a big guy in a robot rhino. You know what I mean. And Paul Giamatti had the least screen time out of everyone, and was setting up things for a third movie that didn't happen, or a Sinister Six film that unfortunately never happened. But, yeah. Next is Spider-Man 3 at number 8. Yeah, this one just... Well, it has the cringe factor. I mean, yeah, we see emo Parker and, but the studio again stuck their noses in, wanted Sam Raimi to cram as much in as possible, including Venom, rather than save that part for like another movie. And we got the Sandman, the sympathetic villain, and we find out Parker's makes the revelation of his uncle's killer, and we see Harry Osborn and his vendetta, but then soon make up with Peter and stuff. But this killed any chances of a fourth movie happening, which would have been cool to see, but we never got to see that. And that was the end of the Sam Raimi trilogy. Next, at number 7, it is The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, I thought Andrew Garfield was a good fit for it. And I liked Reese Ifans as the Lizard. I liked, the visuals, the suit, and stuff. But looking at it now, this had a slow start. It took up a good quarter of the movie going over something we already knew. He knew he was bitten by a radioactive spider. We knew that his uncle dies, and he felt responsible for it. We knew all that, and they dragged it out into a good 40 minutes of the movie before we even see him become Spider-Man. But when he becomes Spider-Man and we see him all fighting crime and stuff, it looks good. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, Andrew Garfield is a great Spider-Man, but I just feel that they let him down with what they gave him to act with. So yeah, The Amazing Spider-Man. At number 6, it is Spider-Man, Where It All Began. Now, when this came out in 2002, I loved this. It was probably my favorite film of that summer. I wanted to be Spider-Man. I wanted a Spider-Man costume, and I begged my mom to get me one. And also, I couldn't get enough of this movie. Willem Dafoe was a great Green Goblin. No wonder they got him back for Far From Home, No Way Home, and Tobey Maguire. This movie introduced me to him because I'd never heard of the actor until I watched this. It was just a great movie, great part of my childhood. Before this, it was always the animated series from the 90s. But this was a great way to start the franchise. So, next, coming in at number 5, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. I feel this is the weakest of Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies. This is like post-Phase 3, or just fits into Phase 3. We just had the Infinity Saga conclude. I think this was a great way to ease us out of it and prep us for maybe the multiverse which would follow. Jake Gyllenhaal, great as Mysterio, made him look like a hero, but come on, it was predictable as hell that he was going to be the bad guy in this. Great cliffhanger ending, and, we see Tom Holland in his second outing, after the blip, after the Infinity Saga, he's still mourning the loss of his mentor, Tony Stark, and it was a great follow-on to that. So yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home. Coming in at number 4, it is Spider-Man 2. I think the best in Raimi's trilogy. We got Doc Ock. Alfred Molina just knocks it out of the park as Doc Ock. He was my favorite. He's my favorite Marvel villain. He was my favorite villain in the trilogy. The robotic arms he has, and hell, I even was rooting for the villain in this one. But Tobey Maguire still makes it great. Kristen Dunst, the drama between him and being Spider-Man. At one point, he gives up being Spider-Man. It's just a good sequel. And one of those rare sequels which I think are slightly better than the first. Top 3 now, and at number 3, it is Spider-Man Homecoming. So after the failure of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, Disney and Marvel came to Sony and said, hey, why don't we do a deal here where we can put Spider-Man in our movies? So they did. They paid him a lot of money, and they used him in Captain America Civil War briefly, and that was the introduction to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Then a year later we get Spider-Man Homecoming, where we see Spider-Man protecting his neighborhood. We see, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Iron Man as a support in this, also being his mentor. We see him trying to balance his teenage life with being Spider-Man, and, we even see live-action Vulture, played by Michael Keaton. Formerly a Batman, and now Vulture. And he was great in this, and this was not a bad start for Tom Holland leading it. He showed that he has what it takes to be Spider-Man, and you know what? We get the introduction of his friend Ned, Zendaya as MJ, not Mary Jane Watson. I think they could only get so many characters from Sony before, But yeah, this is a good one. Great one for the MCU in Phase 3. Next, at number 2 is our most recent entry. It is Spider-Man Brand New Day. Wow. I'm like, this was a huge potato. As Yelena put it. Yeah, she started a meme there. So, yeah, this was brilliant. We get the return of Tom Holland as Spider-Man. We get Scorpion in there, who isn't the big villain of this movie, but we see him in costume with the robotic tail. Tombstone and Ramdam, or whatever his name is, and Tarantula, merely 1 second cameos. They get the least screen time. We see the Hand back in this. We finally get the introduction of Jean Grey. So could that be setting the seed for the Mutant Saga, which will follow when the multiverse is done? Because, we only have 2 movies of the multiverse saga to go. So I think they're going to go with the Mutant Saga next. And where will Jean Grey go next? I have a rough idea. But yeah, Tom Holland, his Spider-Man dealing with, pretty much being a full-time Spider-Man. He's, everyone's forgotten about him from the spell that Doctor Strange cast in the previous movie. MJ and Ned don't really know him. We get Frank Castle as, the Punisher, John Bernthal, return after his special, One Last Kill, and they actually pull it off from him being an R-rated character to PG-13, and they make that work, We see Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner, and then the Hulk, and they bring back Savage Hulk. Yes, his time is brief, but boy, do they make that count. We get Florence Pugh in there as Yelena, Black Widow. Little, yeah, I guess she's taking it easy before her big battle in Doomsday, which we got coming. But yeah, this was a great Spider-Man movie. Probably the best movie of this summer, and maybe 2026 so far. But yeah, Spider-Man Brand New Day. It was a good one, but didn't quite make my number 1 pick, and that is Spider-Man Far From Home. Continuing from Far From Home, Peter is now like public enemy number one after he is believed to have killed Mysterio after Mysterio blew his identity. And then he gets to Doctor Strange, who tries to cast a spell so everyone forgets that he is Spider-Man, but it goes a bit awry. Then we actually get leaks into the other Spider-Man verses. We see Alfred Molina's Doc Ock return. We see Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, Jamie Foxx's Electro, Rhys Ifans' Lizard. We see Sandman come back. Yeah, we see some villains from the old eras, and not only that, later on in the movie, after Peter is mourning the loss of Aunt May, he's met by his variants, Peter 2 and Peter 3, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and we all knew, didn't we, that they edited them out of the marketing, but it was so worth watching it, and my god, the three Peters together, it was like, I feel it did make the other movies canon again, which I like. So they still happen in their own universe, and I love that. We got a little Venom Tom Hardy cameo in a mid-credits scene, which followed on from Venom Let There Be Carnage. But yeah, to me, this up to now is the best Spider-Man movie ever made, and I hope that's it. So those are my ranking of the Spider-Man movies, the live-action ones, the solo ones. So let me know down in the comments, how would you rank these movies? And if you like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, share with your friends, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and to hit that notification bell. I have been the Bat Nerd, and this has been Bat Nerd Review. Not Bat Nerd Reviews. Sorry. No, this has been a ranking of all the Spider-Man movies. So until next time, Bat Nerd out.